And whose team is this? Is this your team? Or is this your daddy's team?
Thanks for listening to Dad Mode Podcast. Common sense parenting in a politically correct world. Here's your host, Andy Carlson.
Welcome back to the Dad Mode Podcast, Common Sense Parenting in a Politically Correct World. I'm your host, Andy Carlson, at Andy Carlson Show on the Twitter machine. I'm a father, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but you don't either. They're chiefy, so let's try and learn something together today. Website is dadmodepod.com. Twitter at dadmodepod, or just use the hashtag dadmode. And today, I'm all by myself again. And there's a little follow-up story from Halloween, which went down last Saturday. And it's been kind of sticking in my craw since then. All right, so we just have our house, new house, handing out candy here for the first time. And we got a decent amount of trick-or-treaters. Like, it wasn't a ton. I know some of our friends in their neighborhoods got almost like 200 kids. Just like, are you kidding me? We got about 40 to 45, somewhere in there. Now, our neighborhood is, which is kind of odd, because I feel like our neighborhood has a decent amount of kids, but the downside is that there's no sidewalks. That's the only pet peeve, well, not only, but one of my major pet peeves about living in the suburbs is that there's no sidewalks anywhere. Because and there's no curbs anywhere, because they always just do let's just roll it out into the gutters and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, all right. But there are trails, there are plenty of trails, but there are no sidewalks. So parents taking kids around, they're driving the kids a lot of the time, because it's like, I don't know, let the kids walk in the street. I don't know, you don't want them to walk in the other people's yards. It's kind of disrespectful. But so didn't get a ton of trick-or-treaters, so this is why this sticks out to me so much. There was a pair of little trick-or-treating girls, maybe about, I want to say 7. All right. Now, we were watching Hocus Pocus downstairs since we weren't getting a ton of trick-or-treaters. So, coming up the stairs, half a flight of stairs to answer the doorbell to hand out candy, it was maybe a 10-second proposition. All right, so it's not far at all coming from our little family room in the basement up to the front door to get some candy. So we hear the doorbell ring, and I get up and jaunt up the stairs, jauntily, I may add, and I get to the door probably 11 seconds after the doorbell rings. All right, and when I answer the door, there's no one there. And then I looked off to the side, and these 2 little girls are walking down the driveway to their parents, which are about, I'd say about 3/4 of the way down the driveway, maybe about 25 feet away. All right. And this is important because I can hear the kids muttering as they're walking towards the driveway. That took forever. Oh, how come they're not home? That took forever. No. Addendum to that. So when I answer the door, I'm like, hello, happy Halloween. I'm trying to be all friendly and stuff. It's not my forte. But the kids come walking back down the little sidewalk path to the front door. And then they're like, that took forever. And the parents could fully hear this. All right. And they're standing there and they're smiling in their little polar fleeces, and they got their coffee, which is probably half Jameson, and I don't really blame them, etc. That whole thing. So the kids, they walk back up in their little costumes, and after saying that took forever, and then they just hold out their bags, I put some candy in them, and then they turn around, and they walk back towards the parents. No trick or treat. No happy Halloween. No thank you after they get the candy. Nothing. So my entire interaction with those 2 little kids was answering the doorbell after they waited a whole 10 seconds. I mean, the patience on some of these kids in the digital age, I tell you. Them turning around, saying that took forever in a very condescending and sarcastic sort of way. And then, no please, no trick or treat, no thank you, no, nothing like that. And the parents were in full earshot of this. So there was no prompting of say trick or treat or say thank you. Say thank you to the nice man who is giving you free candy that does not have razor blades or PCP in it, because that's a big thing nowadays. And it's just, yeah. Now, down the street, out of earshot, the parents could have been like, you should have said Happy Halloween. You should have said thank you. Don't complain about the time it took for people to answer the door, especially when it wasn't that long. Especially when it was not that long. But I would say odds are probably a 95% chance they said nothing. They said nothing to those damn kids, and it was like, all right, let's go to the next house and get some more candy for you that will rot your teeth. Yeah. Even though candy's awesome. I'm not going to lie. But it's just a microcosm, I feel like, of my generation's and slightly older's sort of too laissez-faire parenting. Because I probably should have mentioned that these were like suburban yuppie parents, maybe about 32, 33, that sort of age. And I'm kind of starting to see why they're raising too many of these entitled little who are self-entitled. They don't really know right from wrong. They don't know how to say please and thank you, and they're not grateful because their parents are like, I will never raise my child as harsh as my parents raised me. Now, looking back, if you take a 30-year-old, like I am, and if you take my parents or my generation's parents, they were raised by the Greatest Generation. Generally, taking like mathematical averages. We're not talking about the kids who had kids when they're 16 and 16, and then you have a 32-year-old grandpa. No, not like that. So you have these kids are raised by baby boomers who were raised by Great Depression and World War II survivors who were very harsh, who were very strict and by the book. And it's not out of some sort of wanting to harm a child all the time. Not necessarily. They weren't, for the most part. They weren't like sadomasochists, but they were hard on the kids because they wanted them to be good people. And that's how you instill good discipline. Now, you have this entire generation of baby boomers, and there's so many of them, and that were, if they didn't say please and thank you, or they did something out of line, they were given the belt. Dad takes off the belt and gives you a couple lashes on your rear end. Or the very common back in the day, and still common today in parts of the South, as we saw in the Adrian Peterson saga, you go and pick the switch or the tree branch that you want Dad to whack your rear end in. Now, he doesn't usually lash your back without a shirt on or lacerate your scrotum like did. But that's the sort of punishment that came up. Now, it's sort of understandable that the baby boomer parents then are like, I will never raise my children like that. They will learn to become very good people without all of that traumatic experiences. Because you talk to anyone who's 50, 55, 60 years old, they'll probably have half a dozen stories about the time, me and my brothers we were roughhousing and we broke Mom's best vase. We knocked off the mantle, and she's like, just wait till your father gets home. And 2 hours later, Dad caught the train home from the coal mines, and he gave us the whooping of a lifetime. But I will never raise my kids like that. So it is well-intentioned, and I would say you can raise your kids to be thoughtful people, have gratitude, and be well-mannered without, beating the hell out of them with a belt or a stick. And that's completely plausible. All right, so don't get me wrong there. But I feel like a lot of them went too far, raising these in the 80s, 90s, etc. of these soft, entitled, just completely thinks the world revolves around them and F everyone else generation. Now, would beating them with a stick as a kid change any of that? Probably not. I would like to go back in time, take a DeLorean, and test that theory on some people my age, but that's neither here nor there. Imagine those kids now, raising kids. And then you get the two little girls who were trick-or-treating at my door. Yeah, as weird as it sounds, I think it's really true. And the whole the South gets it right in this aspect, all right? So the South doesn't get a lot of things right, but this they absolutely get right in the politeness of young people. And if you talk to a younger person from the South, or I notice this a lot listening to sports talk radio, when a younger person from the South will call in, they'll be like, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Please and thank you." And what is wrong with that? Seriously, what is wrong with that? Now, you don't have to go saying yes, sir, and yes, ma'am when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s. That's a little bit too far. But a well-mannered young man or woman, 10, 11, 12 years old, just says yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and please and thank you for everything, but still has and also has a ample knowledge of what's right and what's wrong. What is wrong with that? What is absolutely wrong with that? And going back to all these incidents now that people have with police caught on cell phone, yada yada yada. If 98% of those people just had respect for authority, as I'm not saying capitulate to authority, and this is not Muse, this is not they will control us, we will be victorious. It's not this whole rage against the machine sort of thing. But honestly, if you didn't talk back to the cops, he probably wouldn't get pissed. He probably wouldn't get the taser out. He probably wouldn't get the baton out, and he would not get his gun out if you just did what he said. And then, if he was too harsh for you, and if you actually did step over the line and brutalize you, if that was his MO from day one, and you absolutely did nothing, well, with all the technology today around, everyone with cell phones and even police body cams, you can get yours later. You can get yours by suing the hell out of the police department, and that's fine. Get it there. But don't escalate things where they're bashing your head in on a routine thing where maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they're just wired in a fashion that says, hey, if this guy resists at all, I'm going to go off, because there is a small chance that this guy resisting will lead to him attacking me, and I don't get to go see my family at night. So I'm just going to beat the shit out of him and then deal with the consequences later. But no, I'd say 9 out of 10 situations are results of the person being arrested, who, by the way, is probably rightfully being arrested, again, 9 out of 10 times. All right, people aren't just arresting, Hasidic Jew rabbis on the sidewalk. Talking about the Mets. The police aren't harassing them. Usually, you're doing something wrong. But where was I? So going back to the whole South Carolina incident, where the student was sitting in the desk, and then the security officer comes in and grabs her, sort of choke slams her to the ground and sort of like throws her to the ground in the complete desk. You've probably seen the video. Again, it's a fraction heavily segmented portion of the video, since all these kids and cell phones, and she was in trouble because she wouldn't put her cell phone away, yet another student is recording her with a cell phone in class. Now, what you didn't see is, well, first of all, the cop got fired, and the girl is probably going to sue the school district and the security company for a couple $100,000. So woohoo for her. But what you didn't see is the story of how it escalated, probably for like an hour or so, where the teacher asked her to put the phone away. She said no. Vice principal came in, asked her to put the phone away. She said no. The cop came in, asked her to put the phone away. She said no, and was also mouthing off to the cop. And the story is now that she doesn't have parents. She was in foster care, so that's quasi understandable. But there are so many kids who would find themselves in that same spot who do have parents, who do have these laissez-faire kids of the baby boomer generation parents who would think this is perfectly acceptable. They're like, oh, why can't she have her phone? This is America, isn't it? That whole thing of parents whose parents didn't teach them right or wrong or common manners. I mean, I know you're not supposed to have a phone in class. Are you kidding me? And these kids do not. They think they're self-entitled. The world revolves around them and F everyone else. And just looking around, there are a number of good examples of 28, 29, 30-year-olds who do have a healthy respect for authority, whether they were spanked or not. Growing up, I was spanked. I have a respect for authority. And the wife was not spanked at all. But she respects authority as well, in the sense that, we're not going to fall under a Nazi regime, etc., that whole thing. But, when we were kids, if the teacher asked us to do something, we did it. We didn't sass back. We didn't get the vice principal involved. We didn't get the cops involved. And eventually we did not get thrown to the ground in our desk, even though that was the fourth level of things. It wasn't the first strike. It was strike 4, which is 1 over how many it takes to strike someone out. So, looking at the way that we're going to raise Muggsy, in that she's going to be polite. She's going to say, please and thank you, where it all starts. She's going to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. She's going to respect her elders, her parents, her teachers, and the police. She's never going to find herself in a situation like that, where, well, first off, she's never going to have a cell phone in class, because that's going to be beaten into her head. That not figuratively, or not literally, figuratively. There we go. Don't have your cell phone out in class. Leave it in your locker. Leave it in the bag. Pay attention in class. This is how you get good grades, and respect your teachers. They are in charge while you're in school. And then she's not going to have to get told several times, put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away, put your phone away. Okay, now we're going to throw you to the ground in your desk. That's just not going to happen. But I could see it happening with the way a lot of these kids are being raised. And to bring it back full circle, it's just would it shock me if, say I knew the names of the 2 kids who, came and trick-or-treated our house that night? Would it shock me if the kids who didn't say please, thank you, were irritated that it took 10 seconds to answer the door for their Halloween candy? Would it shock me if down the line they get in trouble for, I don't know, mouthing off to a teacher, getting a teacher suspended in that, unrightfully suspended in that manner? If they have trouble with cops down the lines, if they're the ones who are acting a fool in a traffic ticket, yelling out, why'd you pull me over? Why'd you pull me over? Why'd you pull me over? Completely flipping out, and then eventually having to get apprehended, put down to the ground hard, and then that video is all over the news and The View and Inside Edition. Would it shock me if one of those 2 trick-or-treater girls are those types? No, it would not. And it starts as simple as saying, please, thank you, yes sir, and no sir. It really does. I don't know what I'm gonna call this one. Probably Gratitude and Manners. Ooh, yeah. Gratitude and Manners is also my favorite band. And if you want to get their album, Gratitude and Manners, brand new album. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Get on Amazon. DadModePod.com, top left corner. Click through our Amazon banner. It'll take you to Amazon through our link. Bookmark the link. Every time you buy a little something, use that link and we'll get a taste and keep our Dad Mode show. Keep it going on. Keep the lights on in this mother, and it's good stuff. Infotainment. That's what we're in the business of. Also, tell a friend about the show. If you have fellow parents in the Mommy and Me class or the place where all the dads go when the Mommy and Me classes are going on, you usually drink a beer in the garage, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Yeah, talk about Dad Mode Pod, common sense parenting, and politically correct world. The show is available on iTunes, on YouTube, on Stitcher. Follow us on Twitter at DadModePod or me at Andy Carlson Show. The website is dadmodepod.com. But until next time, be a man, be a father, go dad mode, and we'll see you later.
Think the episode you just heard is worth $1? Well, send it our way. Visit dadmodepod.com/support to find out how. Be a man, be a father. Go dad mode. The music is created and produced by deeB. To hear more of his tracks, visit soundcloud.com/deeB.